In today's breaking news that's sending shockwaves through millions of American households, former President Donald Trump has just made an unprecedented move that could dramatically reshape the landscape of SNAP and SSI benefits. While many Americans are still struggling to make ends meet in late 2025, this surprising development has caught both Republicans and Democrats off guard, especially given Trump's previous stance on welfare programs. But here's what's really turning heads: the new changes aren't what anyone expected, and some families who never qualified before might suddenly find themselves eligible for substantial monthly benefits. What I'm about to share with you isn't just another policy update, it's a potential game changer that could put extra money in your pocket as early as next month. But before we dive deep into these critical changes, you'll want to stay with me until the end because I'll reveal a little-known loophole that most benefit advisors aren't talking about yet. Hey family, if you're finding value in this kind of breaking news coverage, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon. Let me start with what's making headlines right now. Trump's signature on the latest SNAP and SSI reform package introduces 3 major modifications to the existing benefit structure. The most significant change affects income thresholds for SNAP benefits, with a new sliding scale that actually expands eligibility to include what many are calling the working poor, those who make too much to qualify under the old rules but still struggle to put food on the table. For a family of 4, the income ceiling has been adjusted to account for the reality of today's living costs, moving from $36,075 to $42,850 annually. But here's where it gets interesting and why you'll want to pay close attention if you've been denied benefits before. The new framework introduces something called the essential worker provision. This provision specifically addresses those who work in sectors deemed essential during past national emergencies, creating a separate qualification track that could mean approval even if you're slightly above the standard income limits. Think healthcare workers, retail employees, delivery personnel, and others who kept our country running during tough times. You might be wondering why Trump, who previously advocated for stricter welfare requirements, would support such expansions. Well, the political landscape has shifted dramatically since his last term, and this move is being interpreted by many as a strategic positioning ahead of potential future political ambitions. But regardless of the political chess game at play, what matters is how these changes affect real Americans like you and me. Let's talk about the SSI components of this reform package, because this is where some truly groundbreaking changes are happening. The new guidelines introduce what's being called the Modern Living Adjustment, which fundamentally changes how SSI calculates benefit amounts. For the first time, the program will take into account regional cost of living variations, meaning that if you live in an area with higher living costs, your potential benefits could increase accordingly. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking: this sounds too good to be true. And you're right to be skeptical, because there are some important caveats we need to discuss. The changes don't take effect immediately across the board. Instead, they're being rolled out in phases, with the first wave of implementation scheduled for December 2025. Different states will see different timelines, and I'll break down that schedule in just a moment. But first, let's address the elephant in the room: the work requirements. Yes, they're still there, but they've been modernized in a way that might surprise you. The new system introduces something called qualifying activities, which expand what counts as work. This includes not just traditional employment, but also job training programs, education pursuits, and even certain volunteer activities. This is huge for people who've been struggling with the rigid requirements of the old system. Here's something that hasn't been widely reported yet: the reform package includes a special provision for seniors and disabled individuals. If you're over 60 or have a documented disability, you might qualify for what's being called the Dignity Supplement, an additional monthly payment on top of your regular benefits. The amount varies based on several factors, but it could mean an extra $100 to $275 per month for qualifying individuals. Let's talk numbers, because I know that's what many of you are here for. Under the new guidelines, a single-person household could see their maximum SNAP benefits increase from $281 to $345 monthly. For families, the increases are even more substantial. A family of 4 could potentially receive up to $939 in monthly SNAP benefits, up from the previous cap of $835. But here's the key detail many are missing: these amounts can be further adjusted based on the new regional cost of living calculations. The SSI changes are equally significant. While the basic federal benefit rate remains the foundation, the new modern living adjustment can increase this by up to 30% in high-cost areas. For example, if you live in a metropolitan area with significantly higher living costs, your SSI benefits could see a meaningful boost to help offset these expenses. Now, let's address something crucial that many people overlook: the application and recertification process. The new changes actually simplify these procedures in several ways. First, there's now an online portal specifically designed for the new provisions. This means less paperwork and faster processing times for many applicants. But here's a pro tip: don't wait for your current benefits to expire before exploring these new options. You can actually begin the process of reassessment under the new guidelines while still receiving your current benefits. The reform also introduces what's called the Emergency Acceleration Clause. This is particularly important for families facing sudden financial hardship. Under this clause, applications citing specific emergency conditions can be fast-tracked, potentially reducing the waiting period from weeks to just days. The qualifying emergencies include job loss, medical crises, natural disasters, and other unexpected financial shocks. But here's something you really need to understand about these changes: they're not just about increasing benefit amounts. The reform package includes several quality of life improvements that could make a real difference in how you use your benefits. For instance, SNAP benefits can now be used for online grocery purchases from a much wider range of retailers, including local stores that have digital ordering systems. This is a game changer for people with limited mobility or transportation options. Speaking of technology, the new system introduces something called the Digital Benefit Assistant. This smartphone-based tool helps recipients track their benefits, find participating retailers, and even suggests budget-friendly meal plans. It's like having a personal benefits advisor in your pocket. The app is still in development, but it's expected to roll out alongside the first phase of benefit changes. Let's talk about what these changes mean for different groups of people. For working families, the new income calculations are more forgiving of overtime and seasonal income fluctuations. This means you won't necessarily lose your benefits just because you picked up some extra holiday hours or got a small raise. The system now looks at your average income over a longer period, giving a more realistic picture of your financial situation. For seniors, the changes are particularly significant. The new rules acknowledge something called senior expenses, things like medical costs, specialized dietary needs, and mobility-related expenses. These can now be factored into your benefit calculations, potentially increasing your eligible amount. Plus, the recertification period for seniors has been extended from 12 months to 24 months, reducing the bureaucratic burden on our older citizens. For disabled individuals, the reforms introduce what's being called the Adaptive Needs Consideration. This means that disability-related expenses, including specialized equipment and care needs, are now factored into benefit calculations. This could result in higher benefit amounts for many disabled recipients who have additional living expenses due to their conditions. Now let's address some concerns that have been circulating. Yes, these changes will cost money, and yes, there are critics arguing about the budget impact. But here's what's interesting: the reform package includes several cost-saving measures that offset some of these expenses. For instance, the new digital systems are expected to reduce administrative costs significantly, and the improved fraud detection systems could save millions in improper payments. One aspect that's particularly interesting is the new fraud prevention system. While it's more sophisticated in catching actual fraud, it's also designed to be less intrusive for legitimate recipients. This means fewer unnecessary investigations and less harassment of honest beneficiaries while still protecting the integrity of the programs. Let's talk about the timeline for these changes, because this is crucial for planning purposes. The first phase of implementations begins in December 2025, with the income threshold changes and the essential worker provision taking effect. The Modern Living Adjustment for SSI will roll out state by state throughout early 2026, with high-cost areas getting priority. The Digital Benefit Assistant is scheduled for beta testing in January 2026, with full deployment expected by March. But here's something you need to know. Even though some changes won't take effect immediately, there are steps you can take right now to prepare. First, gather your documentation, things like proof of residence, income statements, and any medical or disability documentation you might have. The new system will still require verification, but being prepared can speed up your application or reassessment process significantly. One of the most overlooked aspects of these changes is the education and training component. The reform package includes funding for financial literacy programs and job training initiatives. These programs are free for benefit recipients and can provide valuable skills that could help improve your long-term financial situation. It's worth noting that participating in these programs can also help you meet the new qualifying activities requirement. Here's something interesting that many people don't realize. The reforms also include provisions for small business owners and self-employed individuals. If you're running your own business or working in the gig economy, the new income calculation methods could work in your favor. The system now has better ways to account for business expenses and irregular income patterns. As we wrap up this discussion, let me highlight a few key action items. First, if you're currently receiving benefits, don't wait for your next recertification to explore these changes. Contact your local benefits office or visit the program's website to learn about how these changes might affect you. Second, if you've been denied benefits in the past, these new guidelines might make you eligible now. It's worth checking again, especially if you fall into any of the categories we've discussed. Remember, these changes are significant, but they're also complex. Don't be afraid to ask for help understanding them. Many community organizations and legal aid societies are gearing up to help people navigate these new provisions. Take advantage of these resources, they're there to help you get the benefits you deserve. Before you go, I want to hear from you. How do you think these changes will affect your family? Have you had experiences with SNAP or SSI that you'd like to share? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. And if you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might benefit from knowing about these changes. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on future developments in benefits programs and other important news that could affect your financial well-being. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.